Life begins where fear ends. Shout out to my cousin Lay. She sent me this sticker. I have it right above my desk. I look at it every single day. And it has been one of the most impactful affirmations, quotes, whatever you want to call it, for me in most recent times. And as each day goes by, each year goes by, I question, what do I want to do next? Do I still enjoy what I'm doing now? How do I want to pivot? Do I need to pivot? And I think in the last year, I really started to dig deep with these questions and learn who I am outside of my current career as a real estate transaction coordinator, as a business owner, as a solopreneur, working by myself from home. You know, I think the lifestyle of someone that is location independent can oftentimes be glamorized, but it's still a lot of work. Let's not get it twisted. It's still me committing every day to show up, even when there's no income, even when there are fears and doubts. And I want to get it into topics today of surrounding imposter syndrome, outgrowing your career, and pivoting into the unknown. I'm sure many of us are starting to get a bit antsy, anxious, maybe we're not feeling so appreciated at work, or maybe we're just ready for something new. The day this episode is dropping is actually my 39th birthday. Yeah, the big 39. I'm still figuring out what that means to me, but for the most part, I think the work I've invested in myself in the last couple of years and the pivots I've made and the choices I'm currently living in. I'm living in my decisions as we speak, as I speak actually to you all on this podcast. This podcast is a manifestation of a dream that I've been sitting on for many years, that I definitely allowed imposter syndrome to get in my way, that I allowed self-sabotage to get in my way. But like I said, we're going to break all that down in this episode. This is a solo episode. Grab your favorite drinks, snacks, or if you're driving, I hope this makes it for an enjoyable and inspiring journey. Now let's get into this intro. Transaction Care, the podcast. Welcome home to the #1 real estate show on the market. I am your host and resident care coordinator, Lillian Hernandez, but you can call me Lilly. My goal with each episode of Transaction Care is to demystify the business of real estate from my point of view and interviews from other voices within the real estate industry around the world. I'm giving you the keys. There are no gatekeepers here. Head to transactioncarepodcast.com to join my TC community and to be sure you are subscribed to Transaction Care, the podcast, so you know exactly when new episodes are released weekly. I'm going to celebrate a few wins of mine that I think are important to make space for and just to give myself an opportunity to shout myself out. How often do we do that, right? So if you also have some wins you want to celebrate, message me, comment me, and let's celebrate them together. But I want to celebrate the fact that I'm on episode 18 of this show, Transaction Care, the podcast, the show. I'm proud of myself. If you go back and listen to my I Quit episode, you know that I haven't had many opportunities where I've said I'm proud of myself. And it takes a lot for me to really believe that. And I probably should be a little bit more graceful when it comes to being proud of myself. But, people tell me this and I definitely believe them. But there's something about it coming out of my mouth and from my heart where it just hits different. And I'm in a place mentally where I'm able to say that. Because this podcast, just making these decisions to do things I actually am passionate about, I love, and I have major fulfillment and joy from, and that I'm actually pursuing, is something I was too scared to do a year, 2 years ago. So the fact that I'm 18 episodes in plus, depending on whenever you're listening to the show, is a huge feat, and I must take the time to celebrate that. And this episode also lands on my birthday, like I mentioned. So I want to shout out myself for my birthday today. Shout out to all the Aries. Shout out to all of the April birthdays. I see you. We matter. We are important. We are amazing, fiery, passionate people. So whatever goals and dreams you have to fulfill, you got this. We got this. And we're going to get into all that in this episode today, and how we can have breakthroughs if that's what you so desire, and just investing in yourself to achieve those goals and those dreams, and learning how to dream, learning how to imagine, how to envision a new life for yourself, or just adjusting the current life you have, right? And sometimes it just starts with a little bit of gratitude for what you have presently, gratitude for what you have experienced, and learning when to stay or go. It's a process. It takes a lot of time, a lot of exercise, a lot of practice, a lot of failure. I want to get into failure as well, because you know what? Let's just get into it right now. Just a couple of weeks ago, I was working with my coach, and I was telling her, I have the podcast. I'm working on these other projects. Stay tuned. Head to transactioncarepodcast.com and transactioncare.com to learn about those projects that are coming soon. But as I'm pivoting out of doing transaction coordination full time, meaning a majority of my energy and time is going into the business, I'm starting to decrease that time. And as a result, I redid my calendar, I audited my time, and I was like, well, what do I want to prioritize now? What are some projects I see fit that I have a strong desire and passion for? What will make me feel more fulfilled in this journey at this point in time in my life? I've been working in real estate since 2004, almost 20 years. That's a long time to be working in the same industry, doing a lot of the same exact work. And a majority of my life I spent not challenging myself, not believing in myself, not taking risks, or doing the inner work and doing the actual work to heal myself and to learn myself and to understand who I am at this point in time. So now I'm at a phase in my life where I want to spend the majority of the time moving forward actively pursuing things I am passionate about, that I feel are my purpose and that bring me joy, that I have fun with, and it not having to be rooted in money. Of course, we need money. Money is important, but it's also just a tool. And this is a mindset I had to adopt over the years, and it wasn't easy. I still deal with scarcity mentality, don't get me wrong, especially now as I'm embarking in a completely fresh journey and a fresh path, and new areas of my life that I've never explored, and I'm in it. So all of the work I've put in over the years is now starting to show up as progress, and the investing I did in myself through coaching, journaling, reading, and now I'm embarking in therapy. But going back to the moment I had with my coach in our session a couple of weeks ago, where I was telling her, I was like, I'm working on these plans. I have the podcast, but I've been stuck on this one project, and I can't seem to get past just the idea phase. Every time I sit down to map it out, outline it, script it, put it together, I almost get paralyzed in my own thoughts, and I walk away and I stop. And this has been going on every single day for a few weeks now. And I just don't know why I keep getting stuck, because it's something I really want to do, but I just don't know what's stopping me. And having a coach there to keep me accountable, to ask me the right questions, to keep asking me questions, and to help me just to look at things from a different perspective, to challenge those fears and those doubts and insecurities that I am programmed to have. And we did just that. We sat there, and it was actually the end of our session, because the whole session, I honestly was just kind of talking in circles about, well, this happened and that happened. And it felt kind of fluffy. It didn't feel concrete or Like, I was just talking throughout the session just to talk. And then at the end of the session, everything I had said and just kind of purged out of my brain, it was starting to form the challenges I was having in that moment. So I told her, I'm going through this next phase of my career, but I'm stuck here. And we started to talk about fear. And like I said, I opened up with the quote, "Life begins where fear ends." And the biggest breakthrough I could have ever had in this moment was just life changing. So I'm telling her, I was like, yeah, I want to do this. And I don't know if, I don't lack the confidence, but I just can't seem to get past it. And she asked me a simple question. She says, "What if you do fail?" And I said, "What?" She goes, "Well, what if it doesn't work out? Did you plan to fail?" Those were the key words right there. Did you plan to fail? And no one has ever asked me that question. Being that I can be very much a perfectionist, a stickler for details that often cause me to avoid things because it's just too overwhelming, or I just don't see it panning out the way I envision it. And the moment she asked me, "Am I planning to fail?" something just clicked. It was like for the last few months, I've been working on a puzzle, but only focused on one piece and one section, one hole of the puzzle, trying to make this one wrong piece fit in the wrong place. I'm turning it, I'm adjusting it, I'm holding it up to the light and blaming the piece for being defective, or, I don't think this piece belongs in the puzzle, right? Rather than looking at the puzzle as a whole, or picking different pieces, or just saying, "I'm wrong. It's okay. Let's move on." So when she asked me, "Am I planning to fail?" and I started to flash back of all the other projects I've done and how I've miraculously kind of just skated through everything without ultimately planning to fail. But with this particular project, something just clicked. And it was like I finally saw the right piece to that puzzle. And that feeling when you're just stubborn and wanting things to work out, but they don't, and then they finally do. Oh, it was amazing. It just felt like that click of when that piece that is supposed to go where it belongs fits perfectly, and you can move on until you get stuck on another piece, or you actually finish the puzzle. Everything changed. And this was just 2 weeks ago. Everything I was doubting, everything I was missing. And it didn't give me all of the answers. It didn't miraculously, provide me with 6 figures in my account, or the, first class flights around the world. I know I'll get there. And that's the belief I've worked on over and over again, to not allow things like imposter syndrome to prevent me from moving forward. And now one of the words that has been strong and standing out to me lately is the word courage, because I didn't lack the confidence. I knew if I had quit my job 5 years ago and still be here, that I'm definitely capable of doing things. I was just lacking the courage to take action, because I wasn't planning to fail. And planning to fail doesn't mean I don't believe in my dreams. It doesn't mean that I expect everything to just not work out and I'm okay with that. No, of course not. I want things to work out, but I also know that failure is data, right? Failure isn't the end all be all. It's just a part of the journey that we need to either not make that mistake again, or to really solidify, like, okay, maybe this career path isn't for me. There are several ways to look at failure. Those are just a couple of examples. But for me, I was so tied up in failure being the end all be all that I didn't even want to continue or start or finish whatever task or dream or project that I had in mind. So I'm really focused on courage and planning to fail. In many of the things I'm doing now, I have my own definitions of what success is, and I am successful. I also have my definitions of monetary success, and that is a journey I'm still working on. But the gratitude I have for each penny, every cent that is in my account, every dollar every bill that is paid, every closing that is coming across my desk, or every client that I'm going to be working with, or ads, sponsorships, partnerships, whatever the case may be. I'm grateful for all of that in advance and currently. And having that mindset has really just lightened the load for me in terms of being able to pivot and being able to see the opportunities that are available to me versus continuously hiding behind my own fears and anxieties around the unknown. Every day is the unknown. So why be scared of something I actually am passionate about? And just pursue it and see what happens. Now, when it does come to money, I often talk about, the fear of like, well, what am I going to do when there's no income coming in? Or how can you change careers right now when the market is dipping and, your savings is depleting? What are you going to do? Honestly, I'm in it. And I have complete faith that it's all going to work out. It's wild that I'm even saying that out loud because the way I was programmed for so many years, it just didn't seem like a reality. Like even when I did quit my job, I had at least 3 months of savings in my account. Now, full transparency, I'm starting over, like fresh. And I'm more confident in myself than ever. And I have more courage to take that leap today than I did 5 years ago. Because 5 years ago, thank God that I was able to quit my job and go straight into a job and go straight into a business and start my business doing a job that I was already familiar with, that I inherited clients automatically, and it prepared me for this time because now I feel like I'm really starting to test my skills and put them into action and see how I navigate this business world starting fresh. And I know I'm not giving too many details because I do want to keep some of that under wraps until it all comes to fruition. So, like I said, go to transactioncare.com to join my TC community because that's who gets to know all these things first. Plus my actual family and friends and my coach. But transactioncare.com is my main hub and the best way to know what's going on and what services and businesses I am working on and projects and collaborations I have going on. And speaking of collaborations, the moment I had made up my mind that, I'm ready to make this shift again, I'm ready to start fresh, I'm no longer going to invest so much of my time into pursuing transaction coordination as the only aspect of my business full time. And I started saying, well, this is what I want to do next. One of those things was I want to be a guest on someone's podcast. And mind you, I made this agreement with myself at the beginning of April. The end of March going into April. It was a Sunday. I wrote this whole 6-week plan out. And basically, I said I want to be on a podcast by July. So that was like 3 months of figuring out a way to get on someone's podcast without seeming too thirsty. Like, hey, put me on. Which, by the way, if anyone listening wants me to be a guest on their podcast, put me on. I made this agreement with myself that if I'm serious about pursuing this new chapter in my life, this new, to pivot and to embark on this new journey, these are the things I need to make happen. These are the goals I have. These are the visions I have. These are the dreams I have. And I'm going to pursue them. No joke, the next day, I get a comment on a video that I wasn't even going to put out because I didn't like it on TikTok. And it got like 15 views the first 24 hours, right? So one would think that that's a failure. So going back to failure, if I had looked at this as a bust, like, all right, I'm not even going to post this video. I don't like it. I don't like my hair or whatever excuse I was telling myself. But I'm like, it's all about the information. It doesn't matter. Like, no one's going to be like, oh, I remember when Lil made that one video, but I didn't like her hair, so I didn't take her advice. I made this video. I put it out. I didn't care. I let it out. I was like, this video doesn't belong to me. It's for the world to ingest and to learn and hopefully to inspire. I go back to work, go about my day. Work day ends. So a few hours have gone by. There's a comment on that video from someone asking me to be on their podcast. What? I almost, I was jumping for joy. I was celebrating. And I should have mentioned that earlier in the episode about celebrating wins, but A week later, I was interviewed on my very first podcast as a guest. And my goal was to do that within the first 3 months. It happened within 24 hours. So it just goes to show that we are powerful beings. And we are capable of doing so much once we make up our minds and we are ready. And we are preparing. And we are constantly investing in ourselves and devoting the time and the energy we need to just be in it. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be fun 24/7. But it is worth it. It's worth it. Whatever desired outcome you have for yourself and your goals, pursue it. Take a little bit of time each and every day and allow that time to compound to eventually you getting to where you need to be. Set your goals. Here's the breakdown. Dream with a date equals a goal. Goal plus steps equals a plan. Plan plus action equals dream come true. There's a lot of other steps in between that. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to sell you a false dream, a false hope, but that is the most basic outline and foundation you can have. Some additional steps that I have added. I'm actually looking at a piece of paper, this giant white piece of paper that I wrote these things on my wall. And, once you have your dream, define it and then list out what are your challenges? What is in your way? Who is in your way? And then detach. Let it go. And then throughout this whole process of you doing the work, have gratitude, be kind, and be generous. It's that simple. At least that's how simple I'm keeping it for myself. So if that triggers you in a positive way, more power to you. I know you'll do great. And if you're struggling to believe that it can be that simple, let's talk. Message me. I'd be down to help, and we could set up a meeting, work something out to have those breakthroughs. Planning to fail and accepting success. Being okay with success. Being okay with large sums of money, little sums of money, right? Knowing how to budget, doing all these things. And I'm kind of going off on a tangent, so I want to reel it back in and close this out. But overall, just question where you're at today and how you can move forward towards doing things you are passionate about or we're always curious about. Starting a business doesn't have to be this major corporation. It could be a side hustle. It could be a part-time business. It could be something that you've always had a passion for. It could be reselling clothes in your house, your shoes. I do that. It's fun. It brings in extra cash, right? Lunch for the week, phone bill paid for the month, whatever. There's so many opportunities out there. We just have to explore them and be willing to try. And knowing that failure is just data. One of the biggest blessings about having this show is that I get to talk to people about their journeys and how they're navigating failure and how they're navigating success even, or how they feel when they've outgrown a certain part of their life. And it's really just showed me that we all have a lot in common. And I think if we just start these conversations, we can find the support or the like-minded people that we can work with along with this journey, or, be accountable, hold each other accountable with, or just be able to relate to. Working in business is very lonely. And unless you work with a community or a team, when you are at the top leading these people, working constantly to have your dream come to life and stay alive, right? You're in your own little world. And it's important to have like-minded people in your circle and to build a community of colleagues and mentors and coaches, and having that aspect of your business is key. And talking to my fellow transaction coordinators or realtors or financial educators, psychologists, I've just realized that we all have that same commonality. We're all doing our best. We're all just showing up in a field that we once knew nothing about and somehow are still making it work each and every day. And we're just not afraid to show up. We're not afraid to be wrong. We're not afraid to continuously be learning and to have that open-mindedness about what we offer to the world and what we can receive to give to others. So there's a lot going on my end. But I wanted to come on here and just talk about those feelings of when you're feeling like you've outgrown where you're at, especially with our careers, our jobs, our businesses. If any of this resonates with you, take some time for the next week, 2 weeks, maybe the next month. And if you're ready to pursue a new career, maybe travel the world or go for that new position at your job, take some time, as much time as you need. Don't feel like you have to rush through any of this. But if there is a sense of urgency, just always have an attitude of gratitude. And keep an open mind and believe in yourself and have the courage to take those leaps. But in this process of you, in your journey of newness, freshness, whatever that looks like, get to know yourself. Take yourself out. Listen to your favorite songs. Make new playlists. Watch movies that inspire you. Talk to people. Talk to new people that you've always wanted to talk to about their jobs. How often do we talk to each other about work and why we're doing the type of work we're doing? You may know what I do for a living, but maybe you don't know why. Or maybe the why you have as to what you're doing needs to be freshened and redone. There's so many things we can do to live our best lives and achieve our wildest dreams. I will always reference this, and I'm pretty sure I've said this on past episodes, but I was once in the same room as Prince, right? So if that can happen, I really, truly believe anything is possible. Who's to say I can't interview Beyonce about real estate one day, right? I better remember this. Episode 18, you guys remember that. When you see me interviewing Beyonce about real estate or business, let's reference this episode. But it's just being able, I know it's a privilege to be able to dream so big and quote unquote wild, my wildest dreams. Some of them may happen, some of them may not. And I'm okay with that. And I've reached a point in my life where I know what brings me joy. I know when I'm having fun and when I'm not. And I just no longer want to invest my time in things that don't serve me in the long run or that don't leave me fulfilled. Or staying in places or around people I'm no longer appreciated by. And some of those truths can be hard to accept, and it takes time to heal from those wounds, and those are going to be wounds that are going to open and close throughout your lifetime. But just know you are capable and you are still safe, and it's time to take some action. So let's take action together. Whatever it is you want to pursue, let me know, because I want to be a part of this journey with you. If you want to start a whole new business, if you want to travel the world, if you want to just take more naps, whatever that looks like to you. Maybe you want to start a business about taking naps. Dream as wild and loudly as you want. Don't ignore your gifts, and do you. You got this. We all got this. And that has been another episode of the Transaction Care Podcast, the #1 real estate show on the market. Yeah, I said it. Even if I am currently at maybe a million, I'm still on the charts, almost to #1. I'm #1 to me. That's all that matters. But if you want to get in contact with me, like I said, visit transactioncare.com. Join my newsletter. I send a weekly newsletter. I might pop up in your inbox 2 to 3 times a week. It's not a habitual thing. It's just depending on what's going on that week, I may visit you more than once. But I do send out a weekly newsletter where I make announcements, I share my calendar, I share stories, I share tips and advice, and it's free. The newsletter is free. Get it while you can, because the price is going up. Yesterday's price is not today's price. Just know that. And yours shouldn't be either. Raise those prices. We'll get into that in a whole nother episode, because I definitely want to dedicate probably an entire series around money, income, budgets, all that fun, scary stuff. I love talking about money. And speaking of money and speaking of dreams coming true, I didn't mention the name of the podcast I'm going to be on, but it is the Money Chisme podcast. Go check it out. I will have the link in the description of this episode as well as on my blog. I'm going to be talking about it for hella long, so bear with me as I promote myself, because promotion is a forever thing. we'll get into that too. Marketing, promoting yourself shamelessly. There's so many things we could talk about. The opportunities are endless. And if that's an affirmation you need to tell yourself every day, go for it. The opportunities are endless. So with that said, thank you again for listening to the Transaction Care Podcast. My name is Lilly like the flower, because we are learning and growing together. And if you want to support the brand and wear your care, go to tccarepackage.com, use the discount code CARE for 10% off of your purchase, and copy you a t-shirt. They're pretty dope. On the front, it has the brand name, because you know we got to represent. On the back, it says care for yourself, care for your wealth. Yes, I'm all about the affirmations. I'm all about the words, affirming words, the encouraging words, and you just gotta care. You gotta care, guys. So thank you again. This wraps up today's episode. Shout out to all the Aries, all the April birthdays. Let's do this. We got this. Care for yourself, care for your wealth. Your time is worth it. Let's coordinate. Talk soon. P.S. Add me on Instagram and TikTok. I'm there a lot at Transaction Care. All right, for real. Talk soon.